All right, so in this lesson we started with animations and we looked at the basic animations. We said we can just drag an animation down to the timeline. I just prefer to use Shift-A to add an animation. Remember, it's important to think about where that animation is. There's something that happens before it and something that happens after. So you'll make sure that you set up whatever you need to before, set up what you want to have happen after. There are a lot of options in the properties. We can change the scale so we can make things bigger or smaller. We can change the opacity to make it invisible or more opaque. We can change where it's positioned in space in the X, Y, and Z axes, as well as rotate those things in there. We then looked at how to copy and paste properties. So if we had an animation, we wanted to copy what was here, maybe later in the timeline, we can do that by right-clicking, copy properties, and paste the properties later. We then also said, well, what if I want to copy this exact animation and apply it somewhere else? Well, I can do that too. And again, I right-click on that and I can copy and then just right-click later and paste that animation. We then looked at combining them. So we said we added multiple animations and multiple things. So I can have something both shrink down and move at the same time. So you saw how I did that for my videos, how I'll crop out part of it and then I'll make it smaller and I'll slide it. So there are really three things that are happening in that single animation. And then you also saw how I would have a highlight come up and then flip down and then flip down again. And I could keep flipping that and just have a nice long single item that I continue to move throughout time. Lastly, we looked at adding behaviors. We said behaviors are these more advanced animations. So we were able to grab a behavior, we were able to let our mouse cursor rest over top of one of them to see what it looked like, get a preview of it, then we can drag it down to an item we want. Now that item will have a little bit of a different effect if it's text versus just any other object like a video or some other call out. So text, you'll see the letters, moving independently, whereas with an item, it's just one item and it's moving by itself. But behaviors, we can drag those down. We saw that within behaviors, there are three parts. We have what happens at the beginning, what happens in the middle, and what happens at the end. They call it in, during, and out. And we said we can have different effects, as it, maybe whooshes in, and then maybe zooms in and out or something as it sits there, and then maybe zooms out this way or something like that, that you have these multiple animations that you can apply, and it was just a fun thing that you could go in and test. Now, one of the things I strongly recommend, I just mentioned this, but please keep these at a minimum. We don't want to have too many of these behaviors or animations just doing some crazy things on the screen. If there is a reason for you to do it on your screen, then great, go ahead and do that. I think about some of these text videos that come in where you see text that's maybe synchronized to a song or music, or perhaps it's a sales video and you want text to come up like this and then drop down, or you want it to drop in here and then zoom in and then add other pieces to fly up or something like that. If it's intentional, great, go ahead and use as many of those as you want. But if not, if it's just a general presentation or a general video, I want to encourage you to use fewer behaviors and use them sparingly, just so you keep the professionalism of your videos.